This is the Freedom Fatty 2 by Wing Bikes. And today we're going to unbox it, take a look at it, and then take it for a ride. Right here on the box it says, "I'm your wing man." But before we do that, make sure you guys check the links down in the description and go and check out the price of the bike and some of the features and specs it has to offer. Now let's get this bad boy out of the box. This is what it's looking like right after opening it. Looks like we've got plenty of packaging to keep the bike nice and safe during transportation. And if you take a look at that, we got some knobby fat tires in here. Right here we've got what I am assuming is the battery. Yeah. Boom. That was much easier than most bikes are to take out of the box. And as you guys can see, after getting it unboxed, we've got packaging and styrofoam all over the bike, so that way nothing on here is going to get damaged. It looks like you have to tighten the seat down with an Allen wrench, which is a little bit different, but at least this way you know that it's going to stay in place. Also comes with a nice little derailleur guard, very important thing to have on your e-bikes. As well as fenders. We got plastic fenders on the back, and we also have one for the front. And we finally got the bike together. It took us about an hour to put together because you do have to put on the backlight, you have to put on the headlight up here, you got to put on the fenders, the pedals, you even have to put on the throttle here, so you have to take the grip off, loosen up some of this stuff to get it on there, but it turned out being all right. It just took a while. And the bike does come with a charger. Chunky. In order to turn the headlight on, you just got to hold the plus button and then it turns right on. And I tell you guys what, it is very bright. Same with this brake light. I mean, it is extremely bright. So if you're looking for a solid bike for commuting at night, this is going to be an amazing choice. So the setup process for this bike was pretty simple, besides taking a little bit of time, but they do have an assembly video on YouTube, so I will also link that down in the description for you guys. But now let's go and take this thing for a ride and see if it's worth it. All right guys, we are here with the Wing Bikes Freedom Fatty 2 all assembled, and as you guys can see, we even have a rear rack for it, which is a great addition. You can get other accessories for your bikes on their website whenever you get your bike. But one thing I'd like to point out is these nice 20 by 4 inch knobby tread Kenda fat tires. They look really cool. Look at the insides where the spokes go. You've got that red coloring in there. But we're gonna go ahead, put this battery inside and go for a ride and test this bike out. This battery here is a 36 volt, 14 amp hour battery. And the way that you get it in is you start at the top right here, slide the top in, just like that. Good to go. Make sure it's all in place and then you're all good to ride. But here's what the bike looks like fully assembled in the parking lot. It's a pretty decent size. It's actually a pretty small bike, honestly, and it is extremely lightweight, very light. So let's hop on and let's go for a ride. But before we go for a ride, I wanted to show you guys these cool key fobs that the bike comes with. You get 2 of them, so that way it actually has an anti-theft system built in, so you can lock it. That's locking it, and then you can unlock it, and that's the alarm. So if you do end up locking it and somebody messes with it, it's going to set the alarm off. See, isn't that pretty cool? If somebody tries stealing it and the alarm starts going off, they're definitely just going to take off running and abandon their attempt of stealing your bike. Another thing I'd like to point out, you got a horn right there. Then you've got the twist throttle right here, which you actually have to install yourself. I'm not sure what the max speed on this bike is. I'm pretty sure it's advertised at 28 miles an hour. Now we're gonna go ahead and do our first test, and that's gonna be the brake check. So let's go ahead, 24. So the brakes are a little bit underwhelming, but they are mechanical disc brakes. So they're not going to be as strong and as powerful as hydraulic disc brakes. And that's just a given. So now let's talk about some of the specs on this bike and some of the other features it has to offer. The mechanical disc brakes on this bike have 180 millimeter rotors on the front and on the back. So they're decent brakes, but I do think they need to put some better brakes on this bike. So I mean, most e-bikes like this don't come with the best seats. You should always probably upgrade most of your seats, because most seats that come on e-bikes stock are not the most comfortable. This bike is very good looking, so it does get, in my opinion, 5 out of 5 stars when it comes to the aesthetics of this bike. I think it looks pretty awesome, and I also really love how the brake light and the headlight are both just integrated into the frame of the bike. That's a really cool feature about this bike. The wheels on the bike also look super cool, especially with that red going on down in the inside of the wheel well. The bike has an 8-speed Shimano tourney derailleur. You have a single-sided chain guard right here, so that way your chain is not going to fall off while riding around. Has a Wing branded rear hub motor here. But one more thing that you guys need to know about this bike is there's no rear suspension on it, and there is no front suspension on it. So it's not really going to be the best for going off-road, but it can do it. This is going to be a great bike for people that need to commute in the cities or go to college or school or even work. But overall, I'd say it's a pretty decent bike. It just needs some better brakes on it at this point. But now we're going to go and do our hill climb test right up here on this steep hill. Most of the bikes that we review on the channel average about 12 to 14 miles an hour going up this hill here. So we're going to see what this one can do. All right, we're going up the incline now. Now we're going to see how fast this bike can go up this hill, or should I say how slow. That's usually what we're testing here, is just how slow it goes up this hill. And we're already down to 14, probably get down to about 10, 11. Okay, so that's kind of what I was expecting. So you guys can see we are not moving very fast. We hit 11 miles an hour going up this hill on this bike, and that's kind of what I expected, especially with it being a 36 volt bike. But if you add a little bit of your own pedaling power into it, then you will be able to make it up hills no problem at all on this bike. And speaking of pedaling power, we've got a Shimano shifter here. So you're going to shift with your front index finger. You can easily pedal this thing at higher speeds, and it's going to help you to get up those hills a little bit faster and easier. But this bike does pedal really well. I'm going to give this bike that. It's a very nicely pedaling bike in my opinion, but that lack of suspension, you can definitely feel it when you hit bumps. 27, 28, 29. And I was death gripping the brakes on that. So like I said, it definitely needs a brake upgrade. Let's go ahead and hit our top speed. And as you guys can see, I'm actually pedaling right now, going 35. So that's pretty impressive. If you guys really want to get somewhere fast, all you gotta do is pedal as fast as you can. But so far, not too many complaints when it comes to this bike. I really wish it had better brakes on it, and I really wish it had a stronger voltage, like 48 volts at least. But with more voltage comes more weight, and this bike is a very lightweight e-bike. And with a 36 volt bike like this one, I don't think the acceleration is going to be too fast. The top speed isn't horrible, it could be worse, But we're gonna go ahead and do our acceleration test really quick. We're just gonna get the phone out. Okay, time to open up the stopwatch. Good thing that we've got our throttle on the left, because then we can just hit the buttons at the same time. So ready, set, go. All right, let's hit 20. Let's see how quick this bike can do it. I think it's probably gonna be about 15 seconds. 15 miles an hour, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So it actually took 12 and a half seconds to get to 20 miles an hour. That's actually pretty impressive. All right, so 12 and a half seconds on the 0 to 20 test. That is definitely not bad. Another thing that I would like to mention about the brakes on this bike is you can actually adjust them right down here. All you gotta do is loosen this up, pull this tighter through there, so that way you get a tighter grip on there. So you should be able to get the brakes a little better fine-tuned on this bike. So now we're gonna go and do a little bit of an off-road test on it and see exactly how it feels going through an off-road trail. But without any suspension on it, I'm thinking it might not feel the best, but we're about to go find out. So like I said, guys, this bike is not designed for off-roading, but we're gonna go ahead and try it out just to see how it feels in case if you actually have to take it off-road. But it should do good enough with the knobby 20 by 4 inch fat tires on there. One of my favorite trails to go on is right up here for testing out bikes off-road. Make sure we're in off-road gear. Put it right into the lowest gear. I think with the way this low gear feels, it shouldn't be too bad. All right, so it did that pretty easily, and that was a very steep little incline there. So let's go. Let's see how this thing feels. And with the 20 by 4 inch knobby tread fat tires, it's actually doing pretty good. And it does have enough power to propel you up some hills. But oh my gosh, it is pretty rough without any suspension, but that is obvious. Obviously, it's not going to feel too good off-roading a bike without any suspension. But we're doing it. So another thing that I'd like to mention is just because of how lightweight this bike is, it's actually pretty easy to ride off-road on a trail like this. I actually didn't expect it to perform this well, but it's performing very good. So like I said, guys, this bike is extremely lightweight, and I think that is one of the big factors of why it handles off-road so well. I mean, just look at this. I can lift it up, no problem. Very lightweight e-bike, which is great, because that way it's going to be even easier to store in your apartment, your dorm, wherever you plan on keeping it. You could probably even easily carry this thing up a flight of stairs or two. All right, let's hop back on the bike. Let's finish up this trail real quick, and then we're gonna talk a little bit more about it. But seriously, guys, I am really impressed. We almost missed our turn. So, like I said, guys, my only really big complaint so far is the brakes, but you should be able to adjust them. All right. Super impressed with how well this thing did on that trail. It's actually a pretty gnarly trail. I don't know if you could tell from the action camera footage, but it was very bumpy without rear suspension and without front suspension. But like I said, this bike is not designed for doing that. This bike is designed for riding around in the city, riding to work, riding to school, wherever. This is going to be a great option. So now let's keep riding and let's talk about it a little bit more, and I'll let you guys know what I think about it. So first of all, what do I like about this bike? I really like the shifter on here, so that way you can use your index finger to easily shift up and then your thumb to shift down. I do like how well it actually does off-road, surprisingly. I mean, I did not expect it to perform like this off of the road, but it's doing pretty dang well. Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel too bad. You could honestly probably just throw on a seat post suspension. I just think that a few things need to be improved on, but overall, I'm pretty happy with how it's performing. It's got everything that you guys need on a commuter style e-bike like this. You got the horn, you've got the headlight on the front, and you've got the rear light, the brake light. It can do anything that you guys need it to do. And I'm giving you guys my honest opinions. I mean, like I said, the brakes are not good. I'm going to tell you guys that right off the bat. These brakes aren't great. I think they should go with hydraulic brakes on this bike. I think any e-bike that goes over 20 miles an hour should have hydraulic disc brakes. But I will make sure to let them know. I'm going to give them my feedback on this bike and let them know what they can improve on when it comes to it. I also think that it would be a lot more compelling to get this bike if it had full suspension, or at least a front suspension. But I think this bike could be pretty awesome with full suspension. I mean, if you had like the front shocks, and then if you had one shock back here, like on most other e-bikes that are 20 by 4 inch fat tires, I think this bike would be even better. It's still a good bike. I'm actually pretty impressed with it, and I think whoever gets one of these will be very happy with it. So now what do I think after riding the bike for a bit and testing it out? I think it is a great bike for anybody looking for a commuter style bike that has some really smart features, like the built-in theft detection, the built-in headlight, and the built-in rear light. I think that's a really big selling point for me, and really cool that they did that. It's a really nice bike, and with the anti-theft system on it, it's less likely to get stolen. I think it's the perfect option for somebody looking for their first e-bike. So if you are looking at the Wing Freedom Fatty 2 e-bike, I think that you will like it. I keep hitting the button on accident in my pocket, but I think if you do get this bike, you will like it. The only thing that I would suggest is, if you can, upgrade the brakes. I'm also going to let them know that I think they should upgrade the brakes on this bike. But overall, everything else about the bike I like, besides the lack of suspension, but that's okay. It is a commuter style e-bike, and it's going to do a great job at doing that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like, and consider subscribing if you aren't yet. I'll see you in the next video.